What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy, the Hater, and I'm still a little smoker coffee up in this piece. So bear with me if I cough onto the mic. I ain't got no choice, cucks. Now, today's video is going to be about Gunther and why Gunther is one of the worst wrestlers of all time. Now, this is one thing that is controversial. Even some of the Hater's fans don't agree with this take. But as usual, the Hater is going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to use facts to get to the bottom of this nonsense, right? So, pardon me. Without further ado, let's get to this mini rant about why Gunther sucks. So first of all, this jobber appears out of nowhere on NXT UK. Now, NXT UK is one of the many failures that will eventually be tallied up to Triple H when it's all said and done. Once Triple H gets replaced by whoever's going to replace him, we're going to look back at this time period and think to ourselves, wow, Triple H really sucked. These are the dark days of wrestling. This is evidenced first and foremost by NXT UK. NXT UK, if anyone remembers it, pretty much mirrors the current wrestling product today on Raw, SmackDown, as well as NXT. The reason behind it is rather clear. Nobody in NXT UK had any discernible gimmick. It was just a bunch of guys out there wrestling each other, right? The closest thing we got to a gimmick was Gallus, which was three tough guys from Scotland who wrestled. That's basically it. That's barely a gimmick. Now, in the context of this circle jerk, we had people like Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. And people told us that these guys were supposed to be the future, right? Now, anybody watching knows that that wasn't true, but they told us that, so a lot of people believed it. All of a sudden, people are saying Tyler Bate is a great wrestler. Pete Dunne's a great wrestler. They're only great wrestlers because they were positioned as such, right? There's nothing that says Tyler Bate is a better wrestler than Wolfgang, or that he's a better wrestler than Tyson T-Bone. These are some of the characters that you had the pleasure of watching in NXT UK. A guy named Tyson T-Bone. I mean, this just sounds like the bad guy in like a children's cartoon. Anyways, some point down the line, we get Gunther, right? He's obviously known as Walter at this point. Walter appears, and all the smart beards rejoice simultaneously. Basically, when he debuts, Walter's actually pretty cool because he's an enormous fat man, right? He looks like he can kick your ass, and he's believable. And it doesn't seem like his character is going to be what it is today. The character of Walter, when he first debuts, is just a guy that beats people up, right? So I know what you're thinking. Well, Hater, that sounds exactly like Kozlov. You're right. It's exactly like Kozlov. So basically, Walter comes up. He wins the meaningless UK title belt and holds it for like 100 years, right? Then he has a match with Tommaso Ciampa. The match ends with a chop. He basically does a chop with Tommaso Ciampa and pins him, which, you know, in hindsight, lets you know all you need to know about Tommaso Ciampa. But it also lets you know all you need to know about Gunther. This guy's slow-ass push shows that nobody cared about him at all. Eventually, after spending like 3 years in NXT UK, Gunther finally moves up to regular-ass NXT, where he doesn't even win the NXT title. And eventually, Gunther moves to the main roster. It's really weird, but it is what it is. Gunther moves to the NXT to the main roster eventually, and over there, he starts losing some weight. Now, the Hater has to give props to this, right? Facts are facts. Gunther lost weight. Shout out to him for that, right? You know, he put in the work. He understood that he's limited if he doesn't lose weight, so he lost the weight. Good for him. That's a positive. However, here's the problem. Once he lost weight, all the allure of Gunther looking unique just went away. Now he really was just another Kozlov. Except, here's the problem. All the fat that he lost, you expect a lot of muscle to be underneath there. But it turns out there wasn't that much. Gunther is not this like athletic or strong looking guy. As a matter of fact, if you were to put him next to Kozlov, you would think that Kozlov ate Gunther and shat out the fat parts of him, and here we've got Kozlov, right? So he doesn't look like this intimidating big guy. He is a big guy, but he's a big guy, you know, akin to like Baron Corbin, right? Baron Corbin is a big guy, but he doesn't feel like a big guy. He doesn't wrestle like a big guy. He's not intimidating like a big guy, right? He just feels like a guy. So that's the problem that I have with Gunther. Now, as Gunther starts climbing up the ladder, his gimmick essentially shifts to being something else. Now, Gunther's gimmick essentially is he's an arrogant European. He pretty much takes Ludwig Kaiser's gimmick. Now Gunther's thing is like, I'm better than everyone. Right? It's like, hold on a second, bro. You're like in your mid-30s. You spent 5 years in NXT UK, and you've had like one meaningful match. You've never main evented anything, and he thinks he's the best wrestler in the world. So I don't understand how anyone can get behind this guy, given everything I just said. In addition to this, because he's the world champion now, this means that Gunther has no reason to wrestle ever. So this idea of him as the workhorse champion that's better than everyone is not completely by the wayside. He is just another champion. WWE is not going in the right direction, and Gunther is not helping them. Now, while he became the WWE champion, a lot of people thought this was going to be the beginning of a nice, massive push, a change of status quo, if you will, right? But ask yourselves this, cuckolds. What difference is there right now, for example? Gunther's the champion. Let's say the champion was still Damian Priest. What would change? What would be different? You see what I'm saying? Nothing at all. Gunther is not in any meaningful storyline that you couldn't just literally plug in Damian Priest into. Okay, you'd have Gunther versus Cody. You'd have Cody versus Damian Priest. Same exact thing. Nobody would notice the difference, right? Gunther's generic-ass character is the thing that I have a problem with the most. Gunther is so boring and so bland that there's no feud you can create that Gunther is going to help out in, right? Unless you have another German wrestler, you can feud for like the title of Germany's best wrestler. I don't see how you can put Gunther in anything, right? The man has no personality. In fact, in this video, I feel like I'm talking in a very boring way, and I can't help it because I'm talking about Gunther. So it's like I have to kind of almost adjust. If I were making a video about The Rock, you can go look at that video where I was talking like The Rock, you know what I'm saying? If you smell, you know what I'm saying? So, but in this case, I have to kind of almost lower my expectations about what this video can possibly be. Because this video is about Gunther, and Gunther absolutely sucks. You know what I'm saying? He's out there just taking up TV time with promos, which is weird because he's positioned as a guy who's not good at promos. He's positioned as just a guy that is good at wrestling. But what good is that when you don't wrestle? You know what I mean? Last week, or this week, I suppose, I don't remember the exact day, motherfucks, I was on WWE.com and I saw a mini promo by Cedric Alexander, right? And in this promo, Cedric Alexander basically cuts a relatively impassioned promo about how he deserves a chance. I'm thinking to myself, man, too bad, right? You don't just get your opportunity, Cedric Alexander. Gunther has taken it from you. It's as simple as that. Nobody else gets a shot because people like Gunther are picked from the first day to get the run that they've had. Here's why I'm saying this. There's absolutely nothing that Gunther has done. I challenge anyone in the comments to give me one example of something Gunther has done that Cedric Alexander has not done. Name one thing, motherfucks. Name one thing that sets Gunther apart from Cedric Alexander, from Kozlov, from Corey Graves as a wrestler, from Neville. What sets this guy apart? You know, this is basically just a white European Samoa Joe who lost the weight. He has the same personality. He has the same level of skills, except Samoa Joe's probably better in the ring. And this guy has a boring-ass moveset. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see the big deal with him. I don't really understand why the world is so enticed by Gunther. What is it about him that makes people think he's good, right? And that's fine. Someone has to get a push, I get that. But why not give this push to somebody else, right? At least Cedric Alexander is better on the mic. And you're not going to convince me in any way, shape, or form that Gunther's a better wrestler than Cedric Alexander. We all know that's bullshit. Maybe he's a bigger guy and maybe he's more believable, but Cedric Alexander could be a mid-carder. No one's saying make everyone, like, Gunther's going to be a mid-carder too. Like, you think after this title run, that Gunther's going to be this main event presence forever? Like, you think in, like, 4 WrestleManias, Gunther is going to be, like, you know, in the main event? He might find his way back there, right? Like Drew McIntyre. But it's also very possible that next WrestleMania, it could be him versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental title. You know what I mean? Anything's possible in WWE, but the likelier scenario is that he's going to be a mid-carder eventually again. So why not give somebody else that same capacity, that same chance, Cuts? That's all I got to say about that, business bitch.